Hello everyone and welcome back to Now I Know. Today we are continuing our discussion on gametogenesis. In the last video we talked about spermatogenesis and today we will see oogenesis. It's very interesting, the whole process of oogenesis. As we go on, I'll break it down the whole process in step-by-step manner so it will be easy for you to understand. So first things first, what is oogenesis? From the term itself, we can make out that oogenesis is formation of ovum, right? And where it happens in female, it happens in ovaries. That is the location where the oogenesis happens. So formation of mature female gamete, that is ovum, in ovaries is the process of oogenesis. Now you remember in spermatogenesis we saw that from one germ cell which is diploid there will be formation of 4 haploid sperms, right? But in case of oogenesis, from one germ cell that is diploid we will get only one haploid ovum. Okay, and why is that? Why are we not getting 4 gametes over here? As we go on we will see, but that is the biggest difference that you have to know. Okay, and it will make all sense as we go on in the process. So in case of oogenesis there is only one haploid ovum from germ cell. At the end we are going to get number 1. And the second interesting point is the whole process of oogenesis is not continuous. It is discontinuous. And what does that mean? That means the process of oogenesis is broken down or there is a pause in between. Meaning the process of oogenesis, interestingly, actually starts before birth. When the female child is in the womb is when the oogenesis actually begins, and it will pause at the time of birth. All this I'm going to tell you as we go on, but just remember why it is called discontinuous. So at the birth, once the baby is born, once the girl is born, it will be pause. Where it will be pause, at which stage, we'll come to it later. And then again it will begin from wherever it is paused. It will be picked up after puberty. Okay, so there is a gap in between for the formation of ovum. It will begin before birth. At birth it will pause, and again at the time of puberty it will pick up wherever it was left, and we will see all this in detail. So these are 2 important points. Remember as of now for oogenesis, and this all will make sense as we go on in the process. So now let's begin with the formation of ovum. So the formation itself will start before birth and it begins in the first month itself. First month of embryonic development. In the first month of embryonic development itself, in the ovaries of a girl child, the synthesis of primary follicles will occur. And these primary follicles, they would be somewhat around 1700 in number. In the beginning, there will be 1700 primary follicles in the ovaries of embryo, which is 1 month old. And these primary follicles will increase in number, that is by multiplication or proliferation of primary follicles will happen. And by the end of 2nd month of embryonic development, this number would have increased to a few lakhs. Okay, it will be a few lakhs, maybe about 5 to 6 lakhs primary follicles will be made by the time embryo is in the 2nd month. And this will go on, By the time the embryo is 5 months, there will be a handful, millions of primary follicles would have been made in the ovaries. Okay, each ovaries would have a few millions of primary follicles by the time embryo is 5 months old. But again, by the time the baby is born, at birth time, some of these follicles would have undergone degeneration. So by the time the female child is born, at the birth time, each ovary would have about 2 million primary follicles. Okay, both the ovaries, it would have about 2 million primary follicles. Now once the girl child is born, what happens is this is it, whatever primary follicles are made, it is not made after the birth. So these are the numbers that are made, and no more primary follicles will be made after birth. This is happening before birth in the embryonic stage. And after birth, from this 2 million follicles, by the time of puberty, in each ovary there would be about 60 to 80,000 primary follicles would have remained. Okay, so by the time of birth there were 2 million, but by the time of puberty in each ovary there will be 60 to 80,000 primary follicles would have been left. Okay, so from this, each month as the ovulation happens, only one would be able to mature in mature ova, okay, every month, and that we will see how it happens. Now with this much brief overview, let's see exactly how the oogenesis happens step by step. So as we just saw that oogenesis begins with the primary follicle, right? The primary follicle will multiply. There will be like many primary follicles will be made. Now they have to multiply, they are diploid in nature, and they have to multiply and make many cells, many primary follicles. Now these are also diploid, so that means they are dividing mitotically. Okay, so there will be mitosis and formation of many, proliferation of primary follicles happening. Now which is the germ cell that gives rise to ovum? This is oogonia. Okay, the germ cell or the mother cell for oogenesis is oogonia. Now that is diploid, 2n. So this phase where the number of primary follicles increases and divide mitotically, this is the multiplication phase. We have seen this even when we were talking about spermatogenesis. Now once the oogonia is formed, before it enters the next stage, this has to grow. So there has to be a growth phase. This also we had seen. So the second phase is going to be growth phase, where it will increase in size. So there will be yolk formation based on what based on whatever species we are talking about. The yolk formation will be less or more. There will be growth and it will increase in size. Now this over here, after growth phase, it is still diploid, right? Because there is no reduction in the chromosome. It has just grown. So this over here we will now refer to as primary oocyte after the growth phase. This is diploid and now it's a larger cell. Now this particular primary oocyte will undergo maturation phase, the third phase of oogenesis. There are three phases: multiplication, growth phase and maturation phase. And in maturation phase is where the meiosis come into picture. The first one is meiosis 1. But there is a twist. Unlike the other normal meiosis that we saw in sperm, where there is an exact equal division of chromosome as well as the cytoplasm, right? In case of oogenesis, what happens is in meiosis 1, there will be equal division of chromosome, yes, but the cytoplasm division is not equal. Okay, it has to undergo a chromosome reduction, because at the end we want gamete that is haploid, because it has to fuse with another haploid gamete, that is sperm. So if the chromosome is not reduced, there is going to be a complication. So in order to reduce the chromosome, it will have chromosome reduction over here, but the cytoplasm is unequally divided. So one will be a small polar body that has that will have half of the chromosome and very little of cytoplasm, and the other cell will have half of the chromosome and most of the cytoplasm. And this is what we refer to as secondary oocyte. Okay, so distribution of cytoplasm is not equal at the first meiotic division. And this actually is happening. The formation of polar body is actually happening to help the oocyte reduce the genome, because that is what we want at the end. We want haploid gamete. So that's why the polar body is formed over here. It's a small cell. Polar body is small cell. It has half of the chromosome, but almost no cytoplasm, or minimum cytoplasm will be there. And later on what happens, this polar body will be degenerated. Very rarely it would happen that this undergoes a division and makes to a polar body, but generally it will be degenerated. Now this is our secondary oocyte. We are interested over here. This is haploid now and has most of the cytoplasm. But because it was meiosis 1, we know that even though it is haploid, it has double the copy of chromosomes, right? I hope this is clear. Specifically in meiosis 1 prophase, the diplotin stage is where it is going to pause. Now oogenesis will be paused at this particular stage. Specifically, this question is asked many times. Specifically in meiosis 1, prophase 1, diplotin stage, it will be paused. And now it will continue at puberty only. Okay, so this has paused over here. Now we will see what happens. Now after puberty, when the ovulation happens, that is release of an egg. That is where the next phase will happen. So release of egg, to be very specific, it is the release of secondary oocyte that we saw in the previous slide, that will be released. And this secondary oocyte can further undergo division, meiosis 2, only if it is fertilized by sperm. Okay, the trigger point for that to undergo meiosis 2 is fertilization by sperm. So what happens is, if the secondary oocyte is released and there is a sperm that is going and fertilizing it, immediately there will be a trigger and this secondary oocyte will undergo meiosis 2 and it will form a polar body. That means it is again releasing the duplicated chromosome and will have haploid ova. Okay, immediately it will happen before the nuclei of the sperm fuses with it. It will release the polar body. Now it will have only haploid, or it will have one set of chromosome. And then the nuclei of sperm will fuse to give a diploid zygote, right? So when the ovulation happens at the time of puberty, every time the secondary oocyte is released, only when a sperm fertilizes or makes contact, that will trigger it to undergo meiosis 2, and immediately it will release the polar body. So the copied chromosome will be released, one copy will be released, and it will have haploid chromosome, and that nuclei will then fuse with the sperm nuclei to give us a complete diploid zygote, and then the division will happen. It's a very fast process. The moment it fertilizes, or the moment sperm comes in contact, there will be trigger. It will undergo meiosis 2, release a polar body, there will be a haploid nuclei fusing with sperm haploid nuclei to give us to form a diploid zygote. And if this doesn't happen, this secondary oocyte will be degenerated. There will be no meiosis 2 happening over here. So basically when we say ovulation is a process of releasing secondary oocyte from ovary. So that's what happens. So if the fertilization doesn't happen, this oocyte that is released, or the ovum that is released, it's only viable for up to 24 hours and then it will be degenerated. technically we don't use the word ovum. It is actually oocyte that will be released, and if it is not fertilized, if it doesn't actually become mature ovum, it doesn't undergo meiosis 2, it never becomes ovum and it never can fuse with the sperm. So this oocyte, when it is released, if it doesn't get fertilized, it will be viable only for 24 hours. It will never undergo meiosis 2 and it will be degenerated. Now this ovulation process, or in menstruation cycle, there is only one follicle that is becoming mature. Rarely it would happen that there is 2 or more follicles that are getting matured. In rare cases, in those cases, the chances of fraternal twins, they are genomically completely distinct. So genetically they are distinct because it is the egg more than one that is getting mature, right? So genetically it's going to be different. So those are the fraternal twins, genetically distinct, could result. Now you see how this oogenesis give rise to only one mature gamete, because every time the division happens, it loses the set of chromosome but not the cytoplasm, because it is going to have to provide the nutrition for the egg. At the egg stage, when the zygote is dividing, the nutrition has to go. So the chromosome has to be lost but not the cytoplasm. That's why it is unequal division, and the one that doesn't get any cytoplasm, the polar body formation, the purpose of polar body is to actually reduce the chromosome in order to get one mature haploid gamete at the end. Okay, that is how it is different in terms of spermatogenesis, where we were getting 4 haploid sperms. Here we are getting only one mature gamete haploid at the end. So that's all about oogenesis. If you break it down in process, it is very easy to understand. I hope this video is easy for you to understand the topic. If you want to get notified whenever I upload a new video, do consider subscribing and switch on the bell notification. Give this video a like if you understood the topic, and that's all. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep learning.